see the little sign that says the meeting is now streaming, so I'm going to assume we're ready to go. So I'd like to call the meeting back to order, and we'll turn it over to Roy in just a second, but I was reminiscing about the fact that when we were doing the planning for this school year, we were thinking that the winter could be really, really tough. And I have to tell you, I'm so sorry we're right, but it is definitely becoming a tough winter. As we have right now, both the elementary school and the high school closed, or actually on remote learning, because of the spread of the COVID and the current pandemic that we're in. Roy's going to go over the specifics of where we are. But the more I thought about it today is, we really are, the district is a system, and there's a lot of different, very valuable pieces and components of that system. And the job before Roy and his leadership team is to keep all of those pieces healthy. And that can be a balancing act. And I think in the last couple of days, I felt like it was a balancing act. And I see Roy making some very, very wise decisions. As we look forward, we all know the research that is best for the kids to be in school. We get it. But right now, we also know that we need to keep them healthy. We need to keep the teachers healthy, the administrators, the people that keep our buildings clean, everybody. And so the best decision was to have the elementary school and the high school students to be at home. I think the teachers are starting to get vaccinated, which is very exciting. I know some of the people on this call even have had their first jab, as we say. But we really do appreciate your kindness and your patience, and we stand with you on what a very difficult time this is, but we have the best interest of the district and in our foresight. So hopefully spring will be around the corner. It'll get warm again. The sun will come out. We can get outside, and more and more and more of our teachers can get vaccinated. So with that, Roy, I'll turn it over to you.
Great, thank you, and Happy New Year, everybody. Just to pick up on some of the things that Arlene mentioned, we all started 2021 with this feeling of hope, and thought we were going to move forward from the pandemic a little bit, and coming off the relaxing holiday time where we had a couple of weeks off to forget about every day dealing with the pandemic was nice, but we quickly got hit back into reality as we started school up again. And I will tell you that we need people to be more vigilant than ever with what we are seeing currently. And I know the village also sent out an email and a text today about the number of cases that are rising in Bronxville itself. But bringing it back to the school district, just to give you a quick update on where we are with the numbers, and I will be sending this out on Friday too. But at the elementary school, the reason we had to go remote, we've had 13 new cases since January 15th, and another 2 that we're waiting to hear back from tests, so potentially 15 new cases from the 15th, and today is only the 21st. And based on the people who were infected and then exposed, there were a number of pods that had to be quarantined. I think there were 9 initially. Now we're up to somewhere around 11 or 13 pods because of the spread of the virus. So we made a decision to go remote for the rest of this week. We're still going to monitor any new cases tomorrow and over the weekend to try to determine if we can come back on Monday in person again. I know Tricia has been dealing with that quite well and managing all of that. So I appreciate the efforts of her and Rakia at the elementary school in managing all that. There are a number of students who were on initial quarantine day that were set to come back on Monday and some on Tuesday. So we're going to, again, look at the data and see if that is possible or not. And, just keep in mind, our goal all along has been to try to get as many kids in person as we can for as long as we can, as safely as we can. And we're still going to do that. But with the rising cases that we've seen, it just wasn't possible to maintain a safe environment for our kids and our staff at the elementary school, which is why we went to remote. Switching over to the high school, as you know, we had a significant rise in cases right after the holiday that caused us to go remote. We tried to get back in person this past week. We've had 7 new cases since last week. So today, based on the new information we learned today, we decided to go remote. And could conduct some contact tracing today, and was based on that. And then in the increase in cases, we decided to go remote for tomorrow and Monday. The high school is always supposed to be remote next week from Tuesday through Friday anyway, due to the midterm exams. So it seemed wise to take advantage of these other 2 days to maintain a remote environment. Hopefully after the midterm exams following next week, we'll be back in person again at the high school as well. Fortunately, at the middle school, we haven't seen the significant numbers that we've seen in the other two schools. And Tom and I have been talking about different theories as to why that is. We wish we knew. But they've only had, and I say that in quotes, not that it's not insignificant, but 5 cases since the break started. So we've been able to maintain that environment in person in a safe environment for people. So we're going to keep on going at the middle school and hope it stays right where it is. So right now we have one large building that we're going to call the Bronxville Middle School for tomorrow, for one day, because they have access to the entire building. But that's it's alarming, it's disconcerting, and I would ask again that people really remain vigilant. We get emails all the time. I don't know if it's true or not. We do get emails from community members asking us to implore our students to wear masks when they're out and about in town. So we're trying our best to do that, and we ask that parents cooperate with us and make sure their children are doing their best to maintain a safe environment, because as we're hearing about this new variant that it's potentially everywhere, and who knows where yet, but we haven't gotten any evidence that it is in New York by us, but it's supposed to be more contagious and everything else. So we really have to do what we can. But there is hope on the way. Vaccine, as Arlene mentioned, our staff is starting to become vaccinated. We've had a number of people get their first shot and scheduled for their second shot. We hope that the supply ramps up quickly for New York, so the rest of us can get, or everybody else can get vaccinated as well. Hopefully by even the spring, we'll see some normalcy back. We'll see. But if you haven't gotten vaccinated yet, keep on trying to refresh those websites to try to get an appointment as best you can. I was going to talk about the calendar. I'm not quite ready to do that for next year. We're starting to plan for next year in the calendar. I am going to bring it to the board's attention at the February board meeting. It's a tight calendar. Or I can tell you now, we're not going to have a 2-week break for December, New Year, and New Year's, as we did this year. But there's holidays that, like, for example, next year we know that students won't start until after Labor Day, and Rosh Hashanah is the 2 days following Labor Day. So it looks like the first day for students next year will be September 9th, which extends the summer, which is nice, but makes the school year a little more challenging to get all the days in. And then the last part of my news update, I thought it'd be nice to show you where we are. I know we usually do a capital project update later on, but I'm just going to give you a couple of quick hints about that now. And then I've asked Brian Parker, our AV person, he put together about a 3-minute video of kind of a tour of some of the spaces that are already done, because I know not everybody's been able to see it. So we'll let the video go in a moment. I'll try to narrate as best I can where we are at, so you get a sense of things. But Dan and I were on a meeting today with the primes, and it looks like we're in a home stretch here. The guidance suite, the floor is expected, one of the last things to go down is on February 8th. So we're hoping the week, February 15th, that'll be turned over to us for use. And then we're expecting the atrium to be about a week after that. So after the February break, we should be able to open our spaces up and allow perhaps more kids to come in at that point as well, because we'll have more space to spread some of our kids out. So we're looking forward to that. But Brian, if you could go to the video for me, please, and I hope you get to enjoy some of this. Thank you. So as it says, this is a bit about our Innovation Design Center, and thanks again to the foundation. If you remember what it looked like before, it was a big storage facility that had about 5 or 6 steps down. But you can see the ceiling, the tables. It's a big space. We're using it for entrepreneurship and intro to engineering and some advanced physics classes to give you a sense of that space now. There's a lot of equipment still coming in that they're unpacking and getting set up, but it's being used every day. So we thought you'd enjoy that. That's Mr. Gadel teaching a class in there. Here's some students. Some of the robotics club information. But it's outfitted with a number of high quality 3D printers as well, and a lot of tools that I don't know about. But the Learning Commons, that's the upstairs, that hallway. It gives you a quick sense of how that came out. Those spaces that you're looking at now are the individual and small group spaces that have the glass doors and benches outside and small movable tables with the large screen interactive TVs as well. And here's the big open space for what we anticipated to be a multi-use space. That's a classroom currently that Mr. Korfeld is teaching in, but you can see it came out, in my opinion, really nice. These are two small research rooms that are off those other rooms that we just saw. We anticipate doing Bronx research in there and other small things. I know there's a group of students that use these rooms every day for their remote classes sometimes. But you can see there's two small classrooms there. The nurses suite, which has been really very helpful getting us through this pandemic this year with the number of students who have been sick. It's quite large. It's a lot nicer than the one they used to have. There's exam rooms. We have a number of exam rooms in this space. And then the outside curtain wall by the playground. And again, if you remember what it used to look like, that metal piece that was rusting, now you can see it's a nice brick facade. The roofing work has been done. And I think it really looks nice and lends itself well to the building itself. Looks like it's always been there. Those are shots by the drone, by the way. And here's our cafeteria. I know some of you may have seen it already, but it gives you another sense of the space. A variety of tables for kids to eat at and use for study halls and things. You can see the arched ceilings. Those are some tabletops with the logos. In the center, there's some charging stations as well for students. Great, thank you, Brian, and thanks for putting that together. So you get a sense of the space and how it's been coming out. I think it's really, the project's been going very well. And I think the spaces are really terrific and adds a lot to our facility. So when we get the other parts done, you'll be able to see those as well. So Brian, thank you for putting that together. Before I ask the board to approve the safety plan, I'm going to throw it back to Arlene. I think you want to approve minutes, correct?
Yeah, always a highlight of the meeting is to approve the minutes. So we have the minutes attached to our board docs for December 17th. Do I have a motion to approve those? Tom?
Second.
Okay, any conversation, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Connie, approved. Roy, back to you for the safety plan.
Yeah, so on the agenda, you'll see a resolution to approve the revised safety plan. This plan was approved in September, and then New York State made us make some changes to the plan. So we had to add about communicable diseases. So we did add that to our safety plan. And we posted it in November because it does require a 30-day posting period, which we did. So tonight you're being asked to approve the revised safety plan with that new component in there.
Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
That Mike second?
Oh, Yeah.
I second, I think, Connie.
Okay, got it.
All in favor, say aye.
Uh,
And none opposed. All approved. So Roy, anything else for you before we go to Rachel?
No, nothing else. I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Rachel, you're on. You're also on mute, Rachel.
People like it that way. Before I get to my agenda, I just want to wish everybody a happy and healthy new year and send a special shout out to the PTA. All of us in school, every employee received handwritten, personalized cards from families, parents, students, thanking us. And it was very, very special. And I know that all of us were really touched by that effort. And I wanted to just publicly be able to thank everyone who participated in that. It was beautiful. So before you this evening, you have a number of resolutions. The first being a couple of teachers who are in need of childcare leave, as well as revisions to middle school advisory and teacher mentors as a result of those leaves. In addition, we have 4 leave replacements on the docket, as well as a few new teacher aide substitutes and teacher subs. And we have 2 minor revisions to the winter coaches roster that you had already approved, as well as 1 change to the co-curricular roster, a middle school club that you had earlier approved is not going to be running this year. We're putting a pause on it due to lack of enrollment. So if you could consider this evening, please, items A through P.
A through P. May I have a motion to approve items A through P? I see Jack and Tom Evans. Connie,
Yeah, got it.
any discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 I just had a question because we got the sports. Is Joe, let me see, is Joe on? Yeah, Joe. Could you just give an update of where they are for, because I know there wasn't any numbers next to basketball. I guess it was basketball, maybe, and ice hockey, and maybe one other sport. What's going on?
The high-risk sports still have not been approved yet. And that's why there's no numbers next to the contractual fees for basketball or hockey. Boys lacrosse still is not approved, and football is still not approved. All their sports are up and running, and then our schedules start running. March 1st, we'll start with our girls swim team. But on hold, like I said, is still basketball and ice hockey for the winter season. And then we have what they call fall 2 is the football season. So start March 1st. That's still on hold, along with boys lacrosse, which is supposed to start April 19th. That's still on hold. All other sports are scheduled to go.
Thanks.
Thank
But
you.
is there like basketball practice going on, or is it just what's the status of any of those sports with regard to practices?
Yep. Just like we did in the fall, we're having open gyms, socially distanced. So, and for basketball, we're only bringing in 6 kids at a time, 1 kid per hoop. They all have their own basketball. They do about a 45 to 50-minute training session with the coach. We spray down the balls, set them on the rack. Next group of kids come in, get a different ball, and they start their 45-minute training session. And like I said, it's 6 kids at a time because we have 6 hoops. And that's the idea. There's, like anything else, there's no contact, no collision. Everything is socially distanced. Football just started this week in the weight room, which we're going to open up to other teams also starting next week. And that's with 8 students at a time. And then 10 minutes between each session to wipe down everything. Patsy, the football coach, came up with a great plan for that. So we really worked hard on that. And then next week we start a middle school, we're calling it middle school after school PE program. So for any middle school students who are not doing squash or indoor track, they can go ahead and do the PE, similar to what we did with the outdoor games during the fall.
I think the board should know, maybe Joe's a little shy. I'm not. Joe's been really working hard with the state authorities to try to push all the sports to start on their current dates. And for example, with football, they've put together, Patsy working with Joe has put together a plan, a specific plan for us Joe's been working with Section 1 to put together scheduling. Joe's been working hard with the state authorities to put together a plan in order in advance of March 1 to make it all the more palatable for the state authority to say yes, noting how hard it is to get them to say yes. They're trying to maximize the prospects of that. They have, in addition to planning the season and what does that mean and what will that look like and the scheduling, they've also gathered a lot of empirical evidence about the effect of this pandemic on this age group or the lack of it. The fact that we had a very successful fall season with field hockey and soccer. I note that in field hockey, the contact there is nearly constant. And in the case of the Mamaroneck High School girls, as much as football. So they've really been working hard to try to get a fall 2/spring, whatever you want to call it, to get as many kids on the field as possible. And I think the board should know that.
Great.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks.
And apologies to Mamaroneck.
Dan, I think you're up.
I have, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry, Rachel.
No problem. I do have one additional resolution I'd like to propose from the floor this evening based on our discussion in executive session this evening. And I will read that out to you. Be it resolved that the Board of Education herewith authorizes the Superintendent of Schools to execute a certain side letter agreement between the Board of Education and the Bronxville Teachers Association for a retirement incentive for the 2020-21 school year. The board has previously reviewed this agreement in executive session, and I'm hoping the board will consider that publicly this evening.
Do I have a motion?
So
Okay.
moved.
A second? Tom Curran? Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? No. Connie, the motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. Dan?
I'll start with the current year, where we are financially. This is through the month of November. We're tracking expenditure-wise pretty well. I mean, if you look up at the top right-hand side of my report, you can see year-to-date, about the fourth line down for 2021. We're tracking about 4% better on expenditures thus far. Some of those are probably going to be in the spring, i.e. athletics, but we are tracking better, which we need to help deal with our revenue issue, which we're still counting, at least for planning purposes, a 20% deduction in our state aid. That information we're getting from the governor at this point is very fuzzy. It may or may not manifest itself fully. And obviously interest income, when this budget was put to bed, rates were a lot higher. So we have roughly a $700,000 revenue problem, which we're making up with tuition, student revenue, and some salary savings. And then we should see more salary savings and then some savings in other lines starting in December, because we've kind of put a hold on non-essential spending for the rest of the year to give ourselves more clarity on how we can deal with these revenue issues.
Dan, so you said that what you're hearing from the governor is unclear. Do you expect to hear from him in the next 30, 60, 90, 120 days, any greater clarity?
Yes, but I don't know when. It's we've gotten aid to date. We're only tracking on aid receipts. We've gotten about half of our state aid so far that we're expecting. So
Didn't you tell us our big payments come at the end of the school year?
yeah, we have a large payment at the end of the year, but it seems we're going to get less, I think. I don't think the stimulus is going to make up everything, but I don't think it'll be the full 20% either. It's going to be somewhere in between, I think.
Okay. And you've been conservative and have
Yeah.
right now reserved the whole 20%.
Exactly.
Okay.
The governor said the other day, if he doesn't get 15 billion in the immediate from the federal government, that they're cutting $2 billion from state aid.
Yep.
Okay.
So there's higher level negotiations going on that will trickle down to us eventually.
Okay.
I do have a financial action item. We have a foundation grant,
Correct.
and we're always grateful for the foundation. This is an off-cycle grant for $9,220. Boy, I don't know. Looks like something Mara put together. So we're grateful to the foundation for all the support they give us.
Always, definitely.
So I need the board to approve accepting that.
Okay. Should we do them separately, Connie?
It's, we could do them together, or it's up to Dan.
I only have the one foundation grant. What else is there?
There's the special education tuition
Yonkers.
contract.
Oh, yeah, the special education contract with Yonkers
Mhm.
for students we accept from Yonkers for our special education programs when we have room. We have an agreement with the Yonkers School District that is before the board for approval as well.
Okay, so why don't we go ahead and do action item A and B all at the same time? Jack, is a motion coming from Jack and from Tom Evans for a second.
Okay.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? None? Motion carries.
Okay.
Dan, facilities? And once again, Connie, if you could have the minutes say thank you to the foundation. We are just indebted to them.
Roy gave you a pretty good facilities update on where we are.
With visual.
Yeah, and financially, the project is tracking very well, despite, some change orders we have tonight. Most of them were expected, and we'll still be getting some more before the project is through. However, we're at change order number 19 for our GC. I think the last project, our GC, was up over 50. As far as the architect and construction manager seem to be managing this project very closely. And the facilities committee reviewed these change orders with the architect, asked a number of pointed questions and gave some opinions. And the consensus there was to recommend these 5 change orders for approval to the board tonight.
Okay. So may I have a motion that we approve change orders 15 through 19?
Motion.
Okay, Jack approves. Jack seconds.
Second.
Any comments or questions?
Dan, just you said that you got some more coming down the, that we're going to probably review in next month or month after. Are they in the same type of numbers that we're looking at here?
There's going to be 2 on the larger side where they're negotiating a change order with the electrical contractor at the moment, which is a rather large one that could, eventually lead to some kind of arbitration. That one, and then there's one that we just gave the go ahead today for strapping the chimney over on Meadow Avenue so that it doesn't fall down. We thought that was pretty important because it's literally crumbling in their hands. I think that's going to be in the $20,000 range, but the electrical one could be anywhere, between $50,000 and $100,000, or we think.
But that's really the only one I can remember that's a sizable one.
Yeah.
They've been all relatively modest from the size of the entire project.
Oh, sure. As change orders, I think the contingency for the project was somewhere between 5 and 10%, and change orders have been less than 2%.
The thing about the electrical dispute, Michael, is there's a fundamental disagreement about the value of the scope of the work for the scope of the contract, and and they're going to be beyond their allowance anyway. So it's real dollars kind of a dispute, out of pocket potentially. But the architect is really all over it.
Right. And I think it was last meeting, maybe the meeting before, Roy said that you were going to look into maybe a project or two over and above that we had contracted for. Are we still going down that route since we're still doing pretty well on the numbers?
Yeah, we're starting to get some numbers in on removing the kind of the middle bulkhead in the gymnasium. And looks like we'll be able to do that. We don't have, we haven't accepted a proposal or issued another bid or a change order for that yet, but it does look like we will be able to do that.
Was the locker room a part of that too, Dan?
No, the locker room was never in the original scope.
Okay.
So to go back to the state and to spend money on that at this point, we would not be able to do that. But we've asked the architect to start thinking about two things in particular that were not in the original scope of the last project. One is the locker room upgrade, and the other is the maintenance building out by the track, Chambers Field. So if we could double the size of that, we'd be able to store mats indoors and a lot of the other material indoors, and be able to get them to last a little longer and secure and all that stuff. Okay. So they're going to look and put some preliminary analysis into that.
Okay.
The other thing I would add to that, Mike and the rest of the board, is in speaking with Mike Lee, one of the areas that we will have to address, and perhaps it'll fit into this referendum scope, I'm not sure yet, and that's some of the flooring work in the, I think it's the A wing, third floor, and the fourth floor hallway floors need to be really considered because they're in bad shape.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Good
Any other?
update.
Go ahead, Mike.
I just said good update. Appreciate it.
Any other questions or discussion? Okay, I think we still have to vote. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So now we're to the section on the agenda about board reports. Have there been any committee meetings other than the ones that were referenced in the facilities?
We had a finance meeting just a couple of days ago, and to really discuss what Dan's gone over, but just trying to get a handle on the state aid, which seems to be very murky at best.
Slippery.
We're trying to get to the bottom of what we think is a good estimate, but I think Dan's going about it the right way. Let's budget conservatively, and hopefully we get some positive news. I mean, the state is getting money. I think, is it 3.4 billion or 4 billion that they got in the last bill? So the money's coming to the state. It's just a little unclear how it's actually going to come down to the districts. Okay. And they do have a period of time, which is a little unusual. I think they have a 3-year period where they can actually give it to the school districts. It doesn't all have to come this fiscal year.
Wow. Even though they could take away, that's a great plan.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way, at least the stuff I've been reading. So it really gives a lot of discretion. I guess it went to this, whoever goes to a state to eventually filter down to the districts. So we're hoping that we get some good news between now and the end of our fiscal year.
Okay. Thank you, Mike, for everything you do on the finance side of the house. That's great. Any other committee meetings? Okay, I'm happy to report that we do have our next meeting is Saturday, January 30th, which is a budget workshop where we will go over and review the work that Dan and his team have been doing for our next fiscal year. And then our regular board meeting will be on the 11th of February. So now we'll move into the time of public discussion. Do we have any questions in the queue?
No questions? You see no questions.
Okay, with no questions, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. Jack, Tom Evans, great. All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening, and we'll be in touch soon.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye.